Hello, Jamie from Inky and Scrappy, sharing with you today my Winter Birds stamp set series, card 4, Snowflake Magic Iris. I do not have the rest of my Winter Birds series marked as Winter Bird series. I will have a special folder in my video files, so if you want to watch the other 3 because you missed them, they'll be easier to find there. Hindsight is 2020. So for this one, I've been working with the Magic Iris lately, and I've also been working with Fawn's Snowflake die. It's not the Magic Iris Snowflake, it's the other one. I think it's the inside out stitched snowflake, but that stitched snowflake has a centerpiece that can get cut out, so you can have a solid circle in the middle, or you can have a, a pretty snowflake in the middle. And so I was thinking, I wonder if that pretty circle in the middle will fit in the Magic Iris circle in the middle. So of course, I had to try it out. So what you are watching now is me kind of getting those sausage pieces where they would sit if my Magic Iris was closed. I don't want to put it all the way together yet because I want to die cut that circle piece. So I kind of line it up, hold it down with some tape, hopefully where it is supposed to be on my Magic Iris. And then I'm going to come in with that circle piece and try to aim for the middle here. Maybe I should have done it while it was still in the circle. I don't know. I guess I could have possibly. I knew it was going to fit in the circle, so that's how I knew it was going to work. But I don't know if lining it up would have been any easier to do it. So this was me hoping for the best. I did run this through my die cut machine 3 times. It did not cut it all the way through. I am using some metallic cardstock from Luxe, which I got from envelopes.com. So it's about the thickness of the Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock, if that's, the heavyweight stuff, if that's what you're wanting to know. I knew it was going to need some definite strength to it to make the Magic Iris work, even though I'm altering those sausage pieces so they're not, it kind of weakens them, I guess is what I'm getting at. So once I have them all cut, so it didn't cut all the way through, I lined up the die with each one individually. I think I only had to do 2 of them. I'm pretty sure the one that was on top cut all the way through on that one. But so I just clicked it back into place, ran it back through the die cut machine 1 time, and that fixed the rest of those cuts. I didn't want to fiddle with it and get any jaggedy edges if I would have hand cut it or kind of forced those pieces out. I wanted them to fall out fairly easily. And so that's why I relined it up and ran it through the die cut machine 1 more time. So I'm going to line this all up and make sure that it's going to work for the most part here. And you'll have to excuse my camera because I wasn't totally on camera for a lot of it, and so, it was like the lower half there, and so I did end up zooming in hopes that you could kind of see what I was doing a little bit better. I apologize. That's called I don't have a producer or somebody who's behind me saying, "You're not on screen, girlfriend." It happens. So for this one, I did end up writing 1, 2, and 3 on them in hopes that I would remember the order and the direction that they went in. I did bring in some clear acetate, which I use some transparency. It's the cheapest acetate I can find. That's a nice heavyweight. I will try to remember to list the link for it below. I get it on Amazon. So when I bought it, it was like $50 for 150 sheets, which will last me probably for, not forever, but for a very long time. So once I had these glued together, I did put them under some acetate blocks or clear stamping blocks to kind of weigh them down, keep them hopefully glued together or sealed together well. I did this because I knew that it was going to catch on those jaggedy pieces or my cutout pieces, because they're kind of wonky-donkey, and I didn't want them to catch on each other when it was opening and closing. This was, I felt, the best way to go about that one without hopefully, mucking up the look I was going for. I guess you could do maybe like a pearlescent vellum would probably look really pretty behind them as well, and it might help hide your centerpiece, but it would still give you that beautiful snowflake cutout look in the middle. It's a thought. I don't know if it's a good thought, but it's a thought. So I will put in my brads. If you know how I do my magic iris, I prefer to do the brads instead of the adhesive dots, just because where I live, those adhesive dots just don't seem to hold their stick like they should. I don't know if it's just the dry Minnesota air in the winter, and then because it gets hot here and humid in the summer, and so we deal with the hot and humid and the cold and dry, and so I don't know. I don't have good luck when I use them for interactive type cards. So my one hole punch was just a little bit off when I punched it. So I just came back in, repunched it. There was enough room between the two holes that I didn't feel I needed to reinforce it. If it would have been closer, I definitely would have probably put some tape on both sides just to kind of give that other hole some reinforcement so it didn't make a bigger hole, I guess. And then I'm just going to try it and make sure that it's going to work for the most part. I do notice that the Recollections brand brads are a little bit bubblier or have a higher brad on them than some of the other ones that I have used in the past. So in the end, I do end up coming in with a needle nose pliers and kind of squishing the brads down a little bit so they're flatter. A hammer would work for this. It really depends on the brad, I think. But if you feel like you run into that with the brad method of the Magic Iris, that's my guess, my fix for that, because I've done that for the last 2 Magic Irises I made. I think it was just when I switched to the Recollections brand, because my other ones were flatter, and so I've noticed it catching once in a while. So now to figure out the rest of my card. So I already have my snowflake inside of, because I was supposed to be doing class prep, and I got sidetracked. So I actually ran the snowflake through the cover die for the Magic Iris. This way I could get that circle that was going to work in there and be exactly what I needed it to be for the width-wise. And so, of course, not thinking, I'm going to add this onto the front of my panel here. And then I'm going to realize, once I have this all pressed down and let it dry a little bit, that I got sidetracked. And so I was like, oh, I need to save that piece. And then I was thinking about it, and I'm like, wait, it's not going to line up where it's supposed to line up. Yeah. So then I had to peel it off as carefully as I could. I did end up peeling some of the paper off with it. So I am using Lawn Fawn's Sparkle and Shine Snowflake pack in the 12 by 12 and that gorgeous tealy color, aqua color. I don't know. That bluish gray. The darkest one. So I'm going to add in my Magic Iris first here. And then I'm going to come back in with that snowflake cutout. I tell you, some days. And line up those spikes to go with the spikes on the inside of the snowflake. Yeah. And of course, it doesn't line up with the parts that I had already pulled off. So I try to go in with some alcohol marker that I think is going to be close in color. Yeah, it was not close in color at all. It looked like it was on the sparkly metallic paper, not so much on the cardstock. So I ended up just deciding, okay, I guess I am going to place some birds. It kind of dictated where I was going to put some of my images for this one. So I'm just using this stamp set to kind of figure out placement, maybe possibly what I want to do for sure. I really didn't know. And of course, I was supposed to be working on my class cards. So all of my stamps were already in the stamp positioner, so I didn't want to pull them out and kind of adjust. So before I get too far, because I know I have to sit down and actually color things, I decided to put this onto the card base. So I'm coming in with some double stick, I don't know, score style tape for the Magic Iris, just putting that on those 3 little pieces, or the 3 little tabs that hold Magic Iris together. And then I'm going to come in with some of those foam. I ended up coming in with some, I want to say this is probably Heffty Doodle. I think this one is Heffty Doodle tape. It might not be Heffty Doodle tape, but Heffty Doodle tape thickness, double-sided, I don't know, foam tape. Cut that down into strips. That was going to work for my width of, I needed enough height to match that Magic Iris, so probably a double thickness of 3M foam tape if that's what you are using. And so I also knew that I was going to need to finish up my other piece here. So I decided to get back to coloring. So I stamped out the images that I needed, and I brought in both some Ohuhus and some Copics. So I'm using Copics in, I think it was V15 and V12, and then I brought in 171 from my Ohuhu bullet nib markers. They go well together. I'm sure I had Ohuhu color numbers to match. I just was kind of in a hurry and just pulled with what I had close to me. I need to go and put my markers away. You know, it's like a little kid when they dump out the markers and you can't find what you're looking for. Yeah, that's my current predicament because I don't have anything put where they're supposed to be. So I colored my images. I went with purple birds. Totally not a bird you would probably see. I just like the purple and teal color combination. It's pleasing to my eye. And then I do end up going with a light gray for the bird faces on this one, and a little bit, I added a little bit to the little bird's tummy to kind of darken them up or lighten them up, I guess. It depends if it goes one way or the other. So I am going to come in with that snowflake cutout piece from when I did that cover plate, although I am going to use the back side of it so it doesn't have that metallic on it. And then I'm going to bring in the silver embossing powder from Ranger. I was kind of thinking about putting the little birds where I wanted them, and then I thought, you know, I'm just going to stamp it and they will fit wherever I end up finding placement for them. Now, watch closely here. So you see me dip into the silver embossing powder, you see me put it on the top, and you see me flick it off, and then I get my heat gun out, and I just place the cover on top of that pot and not actually screw it on. It bit me in the butt about 2 days later, and I was on a, video chat with Kate from Kate's Craft, and I spilled it all over my desk, because I picked it up thinking it was already screwed on. It was not. Yeah. Avoid Jamie type errors. Yeah. I did grab a colored card base. I think this one is from Hobby Lobby. It's like their pre-done card base, and I liked the color. It was a lighter tone of that teal color. And of course, I'm going to hole punch. So I take a circle punch and I kind of punch so it gives you a little bit more room to grab onto that lever. It's probably, so I do it almost all the time for my cards, even if they're popped up. I just find it works well. Now, I was trying to decide if I could get the pull tab to work out of that little piece, and it just wasn't really going. So I did cut this out of some of that metallic white cardstock just to give me a base to put that other piece onto, if that makes sense. So I figured this way I could get it on there without having, or maybe I did just end up doing it this way. I did just end up doing it this way. And then I'm just going to come in with that little arrow and put that on top after the fact. So once I have that glued down and in place, I'm just going to come in with my scissors and cut it straight I wish that die would cut, like do the, like a full cut on it, if you know what I mean. Like give that piece the same stitching on the inside and the outside. Just because I like it to all kind of matchy-matchy, and then it would matchy-matchy, but that's okay. So I'm going to add this onto my card base before I get too far here. I'm going to throw it across the desk because, you know, why keep it in my hands? That's not how it works. And then I'm going to place this on the center of my card front here, pressing down, hoping for the best. And then I'll open that. I'm going to open this up, and then of course I'm going to slide that back in so you don't see that it's cut in front, so it kind of looks like it has that full finished front on it. Of course, when you open the card, you will see that little sliver on the inside, but I'm fine with that. Then I'm going to tuck in this circle back into the inside. Now, I didn't do this before I put it down because I don't always line it up the greatest, and then I have issues. So I find that if I put my card base on and then put it on there, and then make sure that I run all the way around with my finger, so I make sure that it's underneath the magic iris and not hindering. It's one of those things that like would always used to catch and drive me nuts, and so I've figured out that I just need to be a little bit more patient with it and make sure that I get it popped underneath that magic iris before I go too far. And of course, me trying to lift up things and get things in place is not camera friendly either. So I'm going to tuck that little baby bird down below, and the one is of course sitting on the Let It Snow. That Let It Snow comes from, I think it's the Shutterfly add-on sentiments, winter sentiments, I think. Don't quote me on that one. I will look, I will list it down below. So I'm just going to add in my purple birds around the snowflake. So they're just flying through the sky, enjoying life. I don't know, covering up all of those spots that I had oopsies. And then of course I did miss one of those spots, so, well, you know, I wanted to tie in that white snowflake look with those silver snowflakes. And so I'm going to cut out a whole bunch of little snowflakes, which come with, I want to say it's the Magic Iris Snowglobe add-on, as you will see here. So I ended up cutting it out, I think, twice to get enough snowflakes for the front of my card. And I'm just going to place these randomly throughout. Yes, strategically placing one or two to cover up where somebody maybe possibly put something that they weren't supposed to put before attaching the magic iris. And then making sure that I have some hanging off all of the other things, and then I will go back and cut these off that are hanging over, and of course using some of those cut off pieces to kind of add maybe a little bit more here and there so it looks like that scene is extended beyond the card. It just allowed me to give, you know, maybe one little spot that maybe looked like it was missing something. And that's where I realized that I hadn't gone and squished down my brads yet. So I do come in with my tweezers, or not my tweezers, my pliers, a needle nose, and just kind of squished them and got them back into working order here. And so once that was squished, it works beautifully again. And there is my completed card. I'm sorry for the really bad videoing on this one. I will try to be better next time. No promises. I hope you have an amazing day. Keep getting inky. Bye!